Welcome back, Stu.
Hello there.
How's everything?
No complaints. Tomorrow I'm going to head off to a college reunion in Baltimore with a lot of fraternity brothers. I look forward to that.
Fraternities.
Oh, yes, I love it. That made my life down there in Baltimore at Hopkins. Made my life. We're still close with a lot of the guys.
I avoided fraternities because I don't like people. And I sure as hell wasn't going to live in some house with a bunch of slovenly, smelly people.
Well, you wouldn't have made it in our house. No, actually, I wouldn't call it sloppy and slovenly. But we did have our fun, and we had a lot of good guys, and they went on to good careers and all that stuff. If time allows, and I won't do it today, but I had a wonderful conversation this morning with a guy with whom I played soccer at Hopkins, and he went on to become a serious medical scientist and doctor. And it was a very touching conversation, extremely. If we have time for that, and if you care for it, I'll do it. If not, I can save it for another day.
Well, maybe we can hear about your reunion festivities. Maybe you guys will go to one of those burlesque places.
No, they don't exist, I don't think, anymore, I'm sad to say. I went down there once or twice, get what we call it, B Street, Baltimore Street. And they did have those things.
Well,
I don't want to.
I have a feeling we're heading in a territory of complete cultural decline and decadence. So maybe they'll return.
A return? Oh God, yes, that would be something.
Although this time around, God knows.
But they said that the stuff that the burlesque pieces on stage were not stripping. They were these funny bits. They were very funny humor and very clever.
Well, I think those, how should I put it, those genteel days back when you went to college, things have changed.
Yes, I guess. Well, I wouldn't call it genteel, but it was not what you think. I did on one occasion, and there were only about twice that I went to this place called the Gaiety, I think it was called. You walk down the aisle toward your seats, and a guy, crusty old guy, he's got a mitten on him, some guy. No, but you pass on the way down the aisle. You passed a guy, and he had newspapers over his lap.
Oh my God. I'm going to have to shower after this conversation.
Well, I'm ready to proceed in more orderly.
I always view you as a saintly figure, and now it's all been ruined.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, why don't we start up?
Okay.
We're going to talk about well, you say.
I had a little title for this as I started preparing for it. I called it "The Wrong People Died in That Car Crash." And now let me tell you, folks, you may have heard about it. It's a recent one, but it's got consequences and that I think Dave will want to comment on. Earlier this week, a lady named Miriam Yarimi was speeding through Brooklyn in her Audi 3 sedan. She barreled into a Toyota Camry at about 50 miles an hour. Miriam's Audi 3 ricocheted into a mother and her 3 children who were walking across the street properly and in a timely way. The mother and her 2 girls died. Her son is in critical condition, or was a couple of days ago. The driver of the Camry and his 3 children are in, or at least were in, stable condition in a hospital. When the police arrived, the fair Miriam, that witch, said, I'm using witch to be a nice boy, that the fair Miriam said she was, quote, possessed, unquote. And she said she had the devil within. And then she said she was being followed by the CIA. Not surprisingly, she was taken to the prison ward at Bellevue for psychological assessment. Several publications logged onto a website called, this is neat, How's My Driving? And found that the fair Miriam, that witch, has amassed 786 traffic violations and more than $10,000 in fines. She received 20 speed camera tickets, 5 red light tickets, and dozens of parking tickets since 2023. And oh yeah, she was driving without a license. It had been suspended. Miriam has been hit with a slew of charges: reckless driving, speeding, manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide, and on and on. You get the idea. People are, of course, calling for legislation to get such people, super speeders they were called, off the street. That's all well and good. But it seems to me that she could and should have been taken off the streets years ago. If someone doesn't pay a speeding ticket, that warrant can be issued for that person's arrest. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do that after one speeding ticket, but what if it's about 5 or 5 red light tickets or 15 speeding tickets? Am I to believe that she paid all these tickets when they were received? Of course not. And so if she failed to pay one or more and failed to show up in court, and I expect that's part of the routine, an arrest warrant could and should have been issued. Perhaps her mental state, if it really exists, those quotes are one thing, but truth may be another, but if it exists, it could have been detected and treated, in theory. Of course, in New York City, we know that mental illness just means a day or two at Bellevue and then out the revolving door, so there's a problem there. One other tiny input, and then I'll see what David has to say about all this. In 2023, that little bitch sued the New York City Police Department, claiming that when she was 14, she was coerced into sex with an officer. She was awarded $2 million. Was it legitimate? I don't know. Was the NYPD and DA reluctant to pursue her for her infractions for fear of another claim? I wonder.
So did she intentionally drive into the woman? Is that?
No, because she hit the Audi and ricocheted over into the women.
It was because when she said she had the devil within her.
Yeah,
I was wondering what.
Nice. No, I maybe she was just trying to defend herself. No, she hit it, and that's why I said ricochet. She hit the ricochet. So she hits the Audi and then goes into the people like a cue ball.
So she can afford the Audi, which is not.
No. Oh, yeah, she has the Audi and the other guy has the Camry, right.
She can afford the Audi because she had the big settlement.
$2 million.
They wouldn't have settled for $2 million if there wasn't substance to it, don't you think?
I do think you're right, but you just have a lot. When I see her, there are also a lot of shysters out there, and $2 million isn't a big number to settle at with the NYPD.
Well, I mean, once again, this is obviously someone who's out of control.
Yeah.
And has serious problems, mental health issues and the like. And the city of New York does not a goddamn thing about it. And they allowed her to kill. I mean, you say she should be the one who died. I mean, sure, that might be a good way to find a resolution to this. I hold the city of New York responsible. And you know what, Stu? This is just
goes on and on.
This is another example. If you're a law-abiding citizen in New York, they'll shit all over you. And this is going to get me into this. I know you agree with composting, but they have now imposed a requirement that everyone in New York City has to compost, right? And if you don't do it, they're fining you, okay? And what's interesting about it is you allow people to beat fairs, kill a mother and her 2 girls. You don't do a goddamn thing about it, and you're going to fine me because I didn't put my scraps of potato in a different...
Fair point.
It's disgusting. And it's just like that hapless buffoon of a governor, Kathleen Hochul, and her congestion pricing. You need $5 billion or whatever it is or $15 billion to
get fares paid.
Pay the fares. They're still beating the fares daily.
See it every time I go, and I'm on the bus a lot, on the subway a lot. I see it on the buses. They get in the back door. None of them go, about if you're in Chinatown and I see it, maybe out of 20 people waiting, 5 will go the front door, 5 the middle door, and 10 in the back. And I watch them, and only about half of those in back are clicking their, putting their Omni card to the test.
Well, I was going to say, Stu, we are in a very dark place in this country. We have a very sick man as our president of the United States.
Yeah.
Someone who doesn't have any guardrails, as noted by today's tariffs and Liberation Day as the markets.
And eliminated people who might have been guardrails that had been present in the first administration. It took them a lot of time to get rid of those human guardrails.
The Republican establishment is gone, except for like a few scraps and handmaids. So he's able to let loose with all his lunacy without really much of a guardrail. And I don't care what any of these Fox News conservative morons want to tell us. Tariffs never work, and they're not going to work this time. And it's reckless. It's crazy. And the guy who's behind all of this and coaxing it on instead of talking reason is the animal who took away the health insurance of 9/11 widows, Howard Lutnick. And they claim if this all backfires, which I'm sure it will, he's going to be the one to take the rap. Well, Howard Lutnick should have never been chosen for a commerce position or any position of government responsibility. He is a ruthless scumbag. He took away the health insurance of people who died in 9/11, who worked at his company where 2/3 of the people died. We talked about this the last time, but that guy is really, I mean, of all the repulsive scum in that cabinet, Kennedy, Hegseth, Elon Musk, etc. This guy is one of the worst. Although I'm sure and Tulsi Gabbard, although she's not on the same level. And speaking of all of this, Stu, now that I've gone on this tangent, the autistic baby daddy has been out prowling around. He was in Wisconsin over the weekend. I just showed you the picture with the cheese head. I mean, is that preposterous, just that alone? I also showed you the picture of him giving the Nazi salute at Trump's inauguration. Now, all the defenders say, oh, that's not what he meant. That's what he meant. That's not what he meant. Oh, that's what he meant. All right.
It looks that way. It wasn't quite straight out in front of him, but the motion, the angle was there, parallel to the ground. It was just, that's what you think it is.
Well, before all of this, as I was saying, I had really no opinion about him whatsoever. I was like, good for him. He's made a lot of money. He's been successful. I would never buy one of those shitty cars in a million years, but good for him, right? And I didn't have a strong opinion. Then I got to know him, and I despise and loathe him. A matter of fact, he is a cancer on our national politics. He is repulsive. He makes George Soros, Bernie Sanders, and AOC look like lovely people. He even makes Hillary look good. If that's
I distinguish amongst those other ones. I just say something about, for instance, Soros and Bernie Sanders. Those people have different views. They honestly believe in them. You're dealing with a guy who is, and they're not out for personal welfare that I can see.
Well, they're not using the government to enrich their companies as he is.
Yeah.
But now, the backlash against him has been serious, Stu. It's almost immediate. Before all of this, Stu, only 15% of the population had a negative opinion of him. And this was in December of 2024 or something.
And I wouldn't have had any negative opinion at the time. I know I feel differently than you, but I believe he's brought a lot of greatness to certain missions. But then he's been revealed to be what he really is. And he's been placed in an improper position.
Well, his approval rating as of recently is 41%. His approval rating has dropped from
Musk.
Yeah. Okay. He's now got a 58% disapproval rating,
yeah,
which is substantial. I mean, it's a substantial change because people hate him. He has developed hate, and he's crying on TV about all the violence against his Tesla dealerships. Well, there wouldn't be any violence if he hadn't been so stupid. I mean, the lack of social awareness is amazing. And then this kind of gave me a little chuckle, Stu. Yesterday, it was announced that his company, Tesla, the sales are down 13%. Its weakest performance since 2022 or something like that. It was a real disaster for the company because he's tied his personal self, which wasn't negative before this, to this crazed right-wing fascist Nazi approach he's taking. Now, like George Soros, Musk has more aggressively tried to involve himself in elections and using his money to buy votes. Some have even claimed that he used his technological skills to tilt the swing states in Trump's direction in 2024, and that he used some kind of technological tricks on the voting machine. Now, that's what our beloved Rosie O'Donnell, who left the country, is claiming. I don't think that's probably true, because if it was, we wouldn't have the disaster that occurred in Wisconsin. There was a race for the Supreme Court in Wisconsin. Musk got himself involved and invested $21 million, which is a lot of money for a Supreme Court judge. He tried to defeat a judge called Susan Crawford, who is a very far left liberal, and conservatives had wanted the Wisconsin Supreme Court balance to shift because they were concerned this court was going to overturn some of the progress that Wisconsin had made in ending municipal unions and the like, things that were initiated by a real conservative, Scott Walker. Now, the results are in, Stu. She won by 10 points.
Oh, that's a big victory.
It's a big victory in a state where Trump won by 1 point. It's a huge shift. And
that's got to worry Republican leadership when you see that.
You would think. He also, in this race, he gave $1 million to two voters who signed a petition opposing activist judges. And I think we discussed over the weekend the ridiculous spectacle of him wearing the cheese head. And now, because of him, we have a very liberal Wisconsin Supreme Court, and that's going to have national implications. Now, in Florida, there were 2 congressional races to replace Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz was one of them, yeah.
Right, and the other was Mike Walsh, the guy who included a very liberal journalist in what was supposed to be a very confidential discussion of our war initiative.
Top secret.
Yes. Well, nothing's top secret with these idiots, right? So what happened? Well, I think the Republicans were able to hold those seats, but by majorities that were greatly lessened because even Republicans have had enough of this bizarre individual involved in our government and his bizarre personal behavior. And I think I've already mentioned inside the White House, the staff who work for Trump, they hate him. They want him.
They hate
Musk. He is undermining their message with his behavior and his lack of discipline. I mean, someone who's infused on ketamine and ego is not someone he should be involved in our government, not to mention his companies are heavily financed by the Chinese Communist Party. Who's he really working for? He is the true Manchurian candidate. Well, as a consequence, the Republicans held those seats, and they certainly needed to. And at the end of the day, once there'll be 2 more special elections, they expect the House majority 5 Republican seats. That is a slim majority. So Trump has asked Elise Stefanik to stay on in the House, and she got screwed and is no longer going to be the asset, actually. Even though I would say she was probably one of the more competent of these clowns.
Oh, she would be. I mean, and she'd be a loyal supporter, but she's articulate, she's bright, and she'd represent those positions.
And truthfully, before all these elections, Stu, a lot of Republicans in Congress want him gone too, because he's incompetent and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And he continues this myth about how there's all these fraudsters in the government, and yet he's never provided a list of the fraudsters, all the fake Social Security dead people. He's never provided numbers, and he keeps on talking about saving $1 trillion, and he hasn't even scratched the surface, dude.
When McCarthy was in the U.S. Senate in the very early 50s, one of the things he would do after some attack he made, a verbal attack on someone that didn't pan out, that didn't prove true, he'd come up with another list. He had a series of lists. I now have a list, he'd say, of 52 of confirmed communists and da-da-da-da-da. It just sounds a little like that when you skip from one to another. You just skip on to another lie.
Right. Well, his lies and his time has now apparently coming to an end because Trump has told insiders at the White House that Musk is going to go back to his businesses. I don't know how he's going to salvage.
I hope there aren't consequences, not ones we've discussed or imagined, but any antagonism that he takes away from this that causes him to act in an unfriendly way to our country.
I think he's already caused a lot of damage to our country.
Yes, but I guess I'm asking if there'll be some potential extra dose of antagonism.
Trump is still treating him with kid gloves.
He should.
But the fact that he allowed this man to get his tentacles into the infrastructure of our government and create disruption with no...
And who knows what he's going to take away, what access he takes away when he leaves. Access to...
Well, this guy is a truly bad human, and that's the bottom line. And we could only hope that he will suffer greatly and the country won't for what Trump has allowed. And he's the one who's responsible for this. But so long, Elon, because after all his talk, wielding a chainsaw and acting like he was the big guy, just
that was horrible.
He's the one who's getting doged to because everyone hates him, and the only one who's really kind of being genteel towards him, unusual may I add, is Trump. And Trump is doing it, I'm guessing, because
self-interest.
Yeah, it's for the money. Because Trump would sell his soul for cash and glorification.
Oh, what do you mean for the money? You expect that he wants to maintain contributions, financial I see.
That's what I think. Well, I hope, Elon, good luck trying to salvage your reputation. As far as I'm concerned, my opinion is hardened. And it sounds like even genteel, kindly Stu, who doesn't hate anyone except Jane Fonda, is also not that thrilled with this guy.
No, I'm not. I mean, how could I be? If you look at the facts, you look what he's done, you look at the chaos he's brought about, you look at other consequences, people's lives being ruined or disrupted without cause. Why would I like that? Of course not.
Well, let him burn in the fires of hell after he takes too much ketamine in a hot tub. No one's going to miss him.
I'm toasting. I'm not toasting to that.
I'm toasting.
I have my tea in hand. I'm not toasting to that.
I am deaf to that animal. Well, right. I'm getting a little carried away.
All right. Would you like me to proceed on another subject?
Yeah, let's do it.
This one is not one of dismay and agony. It's just a little story about current events in New York with respect to casino licenses, and it's just a little bit about the real stuff going on. The state legislature authorized some years ago that there be up to three downstate additional casinos. Real casinos I'm talking about, not ones that just have little machines where you put in the nickels and dimes and the bucks and the fives. But I mean, shoot craps. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to shoot craps. So there are three downstate casino opportunities. And the big guys, the home run hitters, are coming out to do this from all over the world to try and get their opportunity. Casinos, of course, are just huge money makers. So there are 11 deep-pocketed groups right now trying to secure one of those downstate opportunities that may be awarded. There'll be zoning and other local approvals that come into play, of course, but here's an important one. Where a municipality wants to use a public parkland for the project, the applicants must get approval of the New York State Gaming Facility Location Board. Now that's, that's the same kind of thing as the tracks go through and gaming. I have to have a gaming license for my interest in horses. Well, that's another day. He's looking at me. Jared's looking at me.
Listen, we gotta go. Let's get to
that board. I can't get to the punchline just yet. That board, in turn, will not award a license without state legislation authorizing it. The path to victory is a tough one. Some elected folks may be supportive, but lots of others are mobilizing against having a casino in their community. Their opponents argue that casino will bring traffic and crime. Not a bad guess. Here are some recent developments involving two competitors. First, one of these is called the Preston School. It's an all-girls Catholic school in the Bronx. It's suffering from declining enrollment and a declining bank book. Now you enter the White Knight, and that in this case is Bally's, the casino people. They operate Ferry Point Park, a golf course in the Bronx on New York City property. That's the one that Trump had for a while, and he gave up. That was the golf course management that he gave up. A Bally exec named Sue Kim has offered to buy the Preston School for $10 million and lease it back for $1 a year for 25 years, which would give Preston an opportunity to get some money and arrange some financing to buy the property in the future. He wanted to make a goodwill gesture to the community. I think that's what it is, but it's also smart when you're trying to convince people that you're doing something for the community beyond the casino. The long-term option would give time again for Preston to get financing. A contract was drawn up, but at the last moment being about a week ago, Preston withdrew, saying that the property will be closed, not sold. And that seems to have been largely an opinion or the decision of some nuns up there. But again, if you had declining enrollment and you didn't have much prospects and a small bank book, it's not clear that you really want to proceed. One more competitor, and this one I find interesting. Steve Cohen, he owns the New York Mets. He's another bidder, and he's made billions through his own hedge fund. Cohen wants to improve infrastructure around the Mets ballpark in Queens. And get this, he's promised to provide $100 million in upgrades for park facilities in the area in Queens, whether or not his bid for the casino is successful. That's pretty substantial stuff. 100, you can turn me away, you get 100 anyway. Now that could endear him to them, but it's putting quite a chip on the table. A few of the other contenders, just to name them, include a Hudson Yards proposal, a shuttered athletic facility in Uniondale, middle of Long Island, where they had hockey there for a while, and I think it's black now, and a Coney Island group. I don't know. A lot of Coney Island people don't like how it would change their neighborhood, but it's hard to tell. And so there's plenty of time for bidders to sweeten their bids, but given the broad support from Queens to the Cohen plan and his unconditional donation, I believe he's moved right to the front of the pack with, as I'll put it, only a few furlongs left in this horse race.
So are you saying you think these casinos could be a good thing, or are you just saying that because the way your discussion was, it seemed kind of neutral. You're saying,
I hadn't said people bad.
Yeah, these people are kind of doing stuff for the community in exchange to get casino licenses.
Well, I think that's what they are doing. What about a casino itself? First of all, you end up, as they have in some places, barring locals from getting in there because it can turn people into addicts very quickly. Other states bar them locals. I don't know that New York has talked about that. Second, I think it does bring other bad things, and it's just another attraction for young folks, but it is money, and that's where the world is going. I don't like the idea of marijuana stores. But I'm prehistoric in that respect, but I don't like it. I think it leads to other things. I think it's inevitable. And we're doing everything for money. Well,
it's only inevitable here in New York, where we have a poorly run state desperate for money because they mismanaged the massive amount of taxes they abscond from their citizens. I mean, we have some of the worst performances in school in the country now because of the disaster that is Kathy Hochul, Eric Adams, and the like.
And the lack of parenting.
But just as a funny note, my friend who went to the play with us, your performance, she went to the Preston School, and she has a lot to say about those nuns because she has indicated to me that they got a better offer. And they're doing it for the money, those old bitches.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, did you also?
I doubt it. Well, but more knowledgeable people may have other information that I don't have.
Right. But anyway, speaking of your place, Stu.
Yes.
Well, I don't agree. I don't think casinos should be allowed. I don't think marijuana stores should be allowed. They're disgraceful and it should be closed down. And the fact that we have to resort to grift and gambling is disgraceful.
As well.
And this is another symptom of our national decline. And a matter of fact, I think over the last 20 years or even further than that, we have seen a very disturbing polarization of our culture. As we've seen societal dysfunction, and it's all coming to a head with Trump's rise to power and his appeal, and his autistic baby daddy friend who's now being sent off. Bye-bye.
You can't help yourself. You can't.
I know I can't. But we noted previously the Orwellian nature of these executive orders and how most of them are not even legal and not legislative. We've also noticed the sycophants who are afraid to speak reason.
It's only worsening, including some law firms.
And now we've heard, remember we discussed Luigi Mangione, and the Justice Department is now recommending the death penalty for him. And, I'm not.
I have no problem with that.
I know you don't, but I think that him and his case is a symbol of our national decline. He is from a well-to-do family. He had a promising background.
Yeah.
And yet somehow he descended to become a cold-blooded assassin of an executive for random reasons that have not really been fully fleshed out. And he has become a folk hero to some.
Yes, he has.
Now, America's youth is...
and people are donating money to his defense fund.
America's youth is in a crisis, Stu. I mean, suicide rates for 10 to 24-year-olds have increased by 60%, according to the CDC. Depression and anxiety has also, for high school students, is up 40%. Self-harm, cutting for girls, mostly girls, up by 50% between 2029 and 2024. Test scores have found the largest drop in math and reading scores since the early 90s. College enrollment has dropped by 10%. Drug abuse is skyrocketing. We have had 71% of adolescents have done so through fentanyl. We have gun violence that has increased by 30% since 2019. These statistics are alarming, they're disturbing, and the only thing that the Republican Party can do about it, Stu, is they can try to ban women or trans men from playing in women's sports, which is not really all that important of an issue. I mean, it shouldn't have happened. But at the end of the day, this is what you focus on, but what we have is a national crisis, and I'm not sure I have the answers to this problem. But when I went to your performance, which was very well done, at the end there was a brief discussion about having a national service requirement, either through serving in the military, civilian, or some kind of community-based program, and whether that is appropriate or whether that would be something that I can't imagine in this environment such a proposal would ever be acceptable. But in a way, and me personally, when I first heard it, I was almost going to raise my hand. I was like, I'm not volunteering for anything.
But that's what I would have thought you'd say.
Exactly. Screw people. Selfishness is my credo. But I have to say, having kids buried in their phones, in their social media, and the negative impacts it has had is significant. And the isolation that they have experienced, coupled by the disastrous COVID policies that lock students out of a classroom, thanks to idiots like Dr. Anthony Fauci. P.S. For all the hatred and vitriol that has been spewed at Fauci by Trump and his cronies, Trump had the power to fire him during the first term and get him the hell out of there, yet Trump was too much of a pussy to do it. So who's responsible for these policies? That's not going to say, but I do think, Stu, that at some point our youth is in crisis, and having them involved in their community in some form or another would be mutually beneficial, even though the thought of forcing people to do anything is not an American
it is American where there's a national emergency, I'd say, such as war. But I think in a way this is a war, and that we are losing percentages of the population, and that will reinforce itself. But what you can do is get people involved with something where they have some skin in the game. Get people to produce something positive for the country, for themselves. And that gives them a better beginning. And when they're doing this, they're doing it with other people they'd never be around otherwise. In the Army, for instance, you don't talk about DEI, you just live it. And that's what this would be if you had you were building houses for the homeless or that kind of thing. You're around people and you learn about other people, and you get along with other people for the most part without, quote, DEI directives or one thing or another. And people would be away from some of the negative things that are around in their life. I mean, even New York City, or someone is starting to talk again about those cell phones don't come into the school. Forgotten, somewhere in New York City.
No, I think it's a number of schools have now.
Well, that's what Bloomberg did, and then it had to stop. I mean, that was it's sensible idea, but they are consumed with themselves. And what you do is by giving someone a year and a half or two of something bigger than themselves, you're helping them to grow and to be more productive and to probably do better thereafter if they go to college thereafter or some other trade school, whatever they do. You become more mature.
Well, I hate to say this, but
I know you do.
I do. But I think you're right. And these people, and it's not a punishment. It's like almost a way to save people from the moral decay that has become America.
I agree.
This is no longer a shining city on the hill. As I remember when I was graduating law school, I felt good about being an American. I felt this country had a lot to offer. I was proud of this country.
I agree.
I am ashamed. I am ashamed that we have come to this. We have come to this fat orange piglet and his little vice president who was in Greenland burning off some of the fat off of his rubbery, stupid body. I'm telling you, this is a moral crisis, and
I agree.
We need some kind of action. And it would be, if there's one thing that we could do, is to save the future generation from the rot that is today.
And just putting the military would be one of those possible alternatives. And there needs to be a certain amount of military because there are bad guys out there. I think most people recognize that. The Chinese are becoming even more dangerous on the horizon. But we need a certain component for military, and military would shape people up, and it does. You learn a bit about discipline. You learn about working with other people, teamwork. In fact, there are so many companies now that, of their own volition, they're not doing it for the bottom line necessarily, but they're saying, I want the soft skills, in addition to technical skills that some applicant for a job might have. I want the soft skills that they bring of teamwork, discipline, recognizing responsibility, the things that they bring to whatever task they're going to have. And it's mission first. We want to achieve something. All those things are great. And it happens just not surreptitiously, but it happens just through the effort. And we do need a larger military force because they're decreasing in numbers, and that's a bad trend. And it's clear that the biggest indicator of who will join the military is whether someone in their family has. And as that grows more sparse, it'll roll in the wrong direction.
Well, I do think military service is one way to do it.
Yes.
There are other ways.
Yes.
Some people aren't cut out for the military. For example,
Agreed.
I could certainly not last in one of those barracks.
You would have learned.
Just the thread count on the sheets alone.
You would have learned.
But I will say, well said, Stu. I think we're in agreement, but I got to throw in a few sarcastic proctors here. There's no fucking way I'm wearing those clothes. There's no way I'm taking a shower with a bunch of smelly people without my bathroom products. Not it.
Well,
and
you would have come out a different person.
No, I wouldn't.
Oh yeah. Or you'd be in, or you would have been dishonorably discharged eventually.
Well, at least I would have served, unlike Elon Musk, who was a coward and was a draft dodger who went to camp.
Wait, if you did that and you didn't finish your period of enlistment or draft, you would have been dishonorably discharged if it was for the reasons you're describing.
Well, I probably would have stuck it out.
You would have. I believe so.
I have put up with a lot of suffering, and I could have easily come home after whatever time I was there and ensconced myself at a 5-star hotel and worn one of those robes that feel like velvet. Fantastic. But still, I think we're on to something. Unfortunately, I don't see it happening at the present moment, but maybe there is hope for the future. We'll see.
It's out there. You know that in the show you were present to hear what happened when I made just a few remarks. It was about 3 sentences is all I dedicated to it.
Yeah.
Applause.
Yeah, I know.
And you saw it and heard it, and that's not uncommon. It's not among young folks, but it happens almost every time in audiences I have, among people starting to nod their heads and say, we need that. The country needs that.
Well, I think anyone who's alive and has a brain realizes we are in the midst of a serious national decline, and it's not improving.
Nope.
But on that happy
note,
be spurned. Well, we'll see you next week. I hope you'll tune in on Spotify and the like. And also, we have our own website, and I will include a link so that you can leave reviews or comments. And I welcome negative comments as well, because if you want to trash me, go right ahead. I love it.
If you want to give David a robe, a nice robe.
That I take swat. But anyway, so until next week.
Until next week.